Hey, we're back. 70s Daydreams. And today we are doing Amalka the Fairy.
Yeah, this is episode 7, How She Reversed the River. This is part of a series, and you're going to find it.
So this is a DIY dub done by Weeby Lulu, spelled Weebiiiluu. They did this dub, and it's based off of the English subtitle version of this Czech cartoon. This is a TV series, so this is just one episode of it. And I think they did a really good job with this dub, and I was really excited.
Yeah, the voice acting is really terrific, so definitely watch this specific one if you get a chance.
Yeah, so if you're chronically online, I'm sure you must have seen screenshots of this animated series. It's kind of like a Pinterest film in that sense where it's like very aesthetic, and I've seen so many screenshots of it, and I was really happy to finally see it. And most of the episodes it's all in Czech, but there are some that have been subtitled, but this is the first dub that I'm aware of.
Yeah, this is quite short. It is 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and it was made in 1973 and aired in 1975. And fun fact, it is still regularly aired, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, so it's a very cute sort of like fairy tale type of story. We have Amalka, who's a fairy, and she has a flower crown and long blonde hair and these cute rosy cheeks. She's like planting seeds in like a field. And then there's a stinging nettle that's kind of bullying her. And then this other girl comes along and saves her from the stinging nettle by like chopping the nettle plant down. While this is happening, the fairy was crying from the meanness of the stinging nettle, and it creates like this big river of her tears.
Because the ground does not drink a fairy's tears, so it creates a river that runs forever with no fish in it.
The more you know. I didn't know this, and then the river takes away the basket that the other girl had.
Kordolka.
Mm-hmm. And that is when we meet the godmother, or what is she? What was her name?
I'm not sure that she had a name. I keep saying Granny because I watched this several times, and then I also watched the subtitle, and I think she's called a granny in the subtitle, and now that's the only thing that's coming to my mind.
We can just call her the granny.
Yeah.
So she's pretty angry at Cordova because was she ramassing things with the basket, or what was it?
She lost the basket, and I think in this she's called the elderly woman is how she's referred to. She lost the basket, and then they had to get the basket back. You know, a whole session goes by with that.
Yeah, the fairy uses her magic powers to make the fairy tear river retrieve the basket. And then at the end, they play a little prank on the elderly woman by giving her this bouquet of flowers that makes her sneeze. And then with each sneeze, she goes flying across.
Yeah, some really funny sounds with that. And then really great animation with the faces for the sneezing. Not just of the elderly woman sneezing, but of the bee sneezing. They really got that exactly right. The way that a facial expression goes when you sneeze.
Yeah, I liked the bee. I felt like they portrayed the elderly woman as like kind of villainous, but maybe they were just being, I don't know, teasing her with the sneezing potion. But
I think in this version she's kind of more of like an employer, whereas maybe she's a granny in the subtitled version, and maybe related to Kordolka.
Yeah, so there's like slight differences in the dub version and the English subtitled version. Very slight, and just sort of with artistic license.
Yeah, I loved the movements in this one, like their little walking and how they kind of like hobble back and forth. And I loved how their mouths never moved when they talked. And it really lended a lot of expression from the voice actor who did the piece, which is Weeb, whose YouTube page it's on.
Yeah, I really like when they do that, when you have the narrator just doing all the voices without the mouth movements, because it kind of reminds me of sort of like when you like a picture book and
Yeah.
like you're like someone reading it to you and they do all the voices except the difference is that it's animated.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe too. Speaking of vibes, this is very cottagecore, I would say.
Incredibly cottagecore, which is why it's all over a lot of aesthetic Instagram and Pinterest pages. Yeah, they're out in this really bucolic sort of landscape, just having a good time in a sort of midsummery type.
Yeah, and it has a lot of like herbalism type of things in it too. I remember when the nettle first appeared on the screen, I was like, oh, that looks like a stinging nettle. And then it was like, oh, I'm the mean nettle and I'm going to sting you. I don't know if you've ever been stung by one of those, but it does hurt.
It does hurt.
It does hurt. Yeah. They're very potent medicine and also food. Like if you soak them and make sure that you get all of the stingers off, then they're very nutritious. And so it's like this herbalism thread kind of through it, where towards the end too, they're throwing the flower petals to redirect the stream to have, and then they find the flowers that are the sneezing flowers to give to the elderly woman. So they have this like relationship with the land, which I think is really nice.
I don't know much about Czech folklore, but I'm assuming maybe this was somewhat inspired by Czech folklore.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it seems like it could be. And I also liked the fact that there is a part where Amalka is asking Kordolka if she's afraid of fairies, and Kordolka's like, oh, a little, but like, I don't want you to cry. And I think that that's interesting too, as far as, the folklore around fairies and them being kind of something that you should fear, but also like revere. And
the thing is like we see fairies as very like sort of ethereal, beautiful beings. But at the same time, they still are supernatural creatures and powerful creatures. They have a lot of power, and you want to stay on their good side.
Yeah, and this one had great music. I think the music was really one of my favorite parts. Besides the very beginning when Amalka's like spinning around and spreading the seeds and kind of doing those like repetitive movements like with the music, like I just really loved that.
Yeah, with the stream flowing, and then there was like this little sort of orchestral score going. I also really like the beginning with like the flowers just swaying back and forth. That was really pretty.
Yeah, that was pretty.
I guess the only thing I didn't really like was I felt like the portrayal of the granny was like a little bit fat phobic, kind of. I don't know. I mean, I guess like these types of things are sort of exaggerations of archetypes and such, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the whole ageism too thing with like the crone and the maiden, and like the crone is kind of like you don't be an old woman, you can't possibly get old, that would be just horrible. And so I see both of those elements kind of in it, but overall it was really charming. And yeah.
It's a very pleasant watch. And yeah, I mean, there's more. This is just one episode of it.
Yeah, so there are 13 episodes total, and it's still aired over and over again. I also read it's popular in Japan, which is cool. So it's all around the world at this point.
I mean, it's unbelievably cute.
Yeah, like, it's very cute.
At first, I was not quite sure how we would tackle series. There are shows that have like 50 episodes, and
right.
I don't necessarily want to dedicate, an entire season. I don't want us to have to go through each episode. But yeah, I think we can do select episodes from different series.
Yeah, I think that would be really nice to do, especially something like this where it's beloved on the internet already. Yes. I would like to, go dive a little deeper into it, perhaps. That's
Amalka the Fairy. Yeah, we do a lot of Czech cartoons.
Yeah, popular animation time for Czech in the 70s, it seems.
Yeah, real renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thanks for listening and enjoy the springtime, and we will be back with our next episode.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.